Hi everyone, this is Sarah of the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲.com. In a previous video, I showed you how to make coconut milk, raw coconut milk using freshly frozen coconut meat from an Asian supermarket and the water, fresh coconut water from a young coconut. You can also get mature coconuts, obviously, and crack them open and scoop the meat out and do it that way, but those are not always available, which is why I showed you how to use the frozen coconut meat from the Asian supermarket, which is available year-round. Of course, if you cannot get young coconuts, you can always use plain filtered water, but if you can use raw coconut water, obviously that's the best way to do it. So refer to that video for how to make the coconut milk, excuse me. Now, we have made a quart of coconut milk, and I wanted to just give you some idea. This was 16 ounces of freshly frozen coconut meat, and it took the water from 2 young coconuts plus one of these bags of coconut to make approximately a quart of coconut milk, just to give you some idea. Now, we want to just talk about the cost of that. If you're not going to make fresh coconut milk, the next best thing would be the Native Forest canned coconut milk, which is a BPA-free can. And one of these is $2.25 at my health food store, and it's 13.5 ounces. So about 2.5, 2 1/3 to 2.5 cans of this equals 2 young coconuts, the water from 2 young coconuts, and a bag of frozen coconut meat. This bag of coconut meat was $2.99, and each young coconut was $1.99. So that's $7 versus, somewhere around $6, $5 to $6 for the canned version. So it is slightly more expensive to make it fresh, is my point. But it's not terribly more expensive. So those of you that are on a budget and really want to get a lot more nutrition, this is a good way to go, because coconut milk is highly, highly nutritious. And if you can, for just a few cents more per quart, substitute a canned version for a fresh version, that would add a lot of nutrition to your family's diet. So something to think about there. So now that we've got a quart of fresh coconut milk, I'm going to show you how to make raw coconut milk kefir. I know that milk allergies are on the rise. Even people these days, there seems to be a lot of people are even allergic to fresh milk from the farm. And once you get your gut in shape, usually that type of allergy disappears. But in the meantime, while you're healing your gut, coconut milk kefir can be a wonderful alternative. I want to use it in my home as well, just even though we don't have any milk allergies in my home, just as variety, because coconut milk is so incredibly nutritious. So once you've got your quart of coconut milk made with your couple of coconuts and your bag of coconut meat, take your little coconut or your kefir grains, and these are milk kefir grains. I've got my little cauliflower here, and if you haven't seen my video on how to make raw milk kefir, please refer to the video library for that. I also have a video on that. But what you need to do is get yourself a kefir culture. This is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeasts that will eat up the sugars in the coconut milk and basically ferment it into a yogurt type of a product. So what you do is you take it, always handle your cultures with wooden utensils, because metal does weaken them over time. So I have my wooden spatula here. I'm going to drop in my culture, and I'm just going to push it down there. You don't have to stir it up or anything like that. I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to leave this on the counter. You can see the coconut fat coming to the top here because the coconut milk is still not room temperature, so it's still a little clunky, but as it comes to room temperature, that will be less chunky and blend in nicely with the water portion of the milk. And we're going to leave this on the counter for about 24 hours, and we'll pick it up at that point and show you what the fermented coconut milk kefir looks like. Welcome back, everyone. We have fermented the raw coconut milk now into raw coconut kefir, and I'll show you what we have now. We have this beautiful little container of raw coconut milk that has been fermented. It doesn't really thicken up that much. It does thicken up more than it did before, but I don't know if you can zoom in here and see I've had it in the refrigerator for a few hours, so some of the coconut fat has chunked up, as it does when coconut fat goes above 76 degrees Fahrenheit. It does solidify, which is why there are chunks like this. But at room temperature, it blends right in with the coconut water, and there is none of that chunkiness. But you can see the water portion is just a little bit thicker, almost like a drinkable style yogurt. But it doesn't get too solid like a kefir that you would make out of raw milk, for example, which would get much more chunky. And the reason for that, I think, is maybe the kefir grains are designed for fermenting the dairy rather than coconut milk. So if you ferment the coconut milk 1 or 2 times, then you need to really get them back in dairy and strengthen them back up in milk a couple of times before you put them back in coconut milk again. But I have been told that if you get some of the kefir packages, the powdered kefir culture packages, that it will take the coconut milk and actually make it a lot more solid when it ferments. But I used, as you could see, I used the live kefir grains, and that really didn't thicken it up much, but it definitely tastes fermented, and it definitely is fermented. When you taste it, it's very effervescent, and it definitely tastes like fermented coconut milk, but it is delicious. And what a wonderful drink if you are trying to add some variety to your diet. Maybe you don't have access to raw milk all of the time. Make yourself some coconut milk and ferment it. Then you can use it in smoothies. This would be usable in smoothies, just like milk-based kefir or milk-based yogurt. So instead of buying the canned coconut milk next time, why don't you get yourself a couple of coconuts and make your own coconut milk and then ferment it into raw coconut kefir. This is Sarah, the Healthy Home Economist, and I am wishing you all the best in the kitchen.